This presentation has been developed by the Child Health Occupational Therapy staff in NHS Tayside and is for supporting teaching staff in handwriting development and how to support children. Our occupations are the things that we do every day, like getting dressed, brushing our teeth, and holding a pencil to write. Our ability to carry out these tasks gives us encouragement, meaning, purpose, self-fulfillment, and supports our health and well-being. Ready to Act is our strategic driver regarding allied health profession services within child health. Occupational therapy works in a tiered approach to services. There are universal services. These are services for all children and young people with a focus on preventative approach and promoting well-being for children and young people, for example through our website and Facebook page. There are targeted services. Services and provision at this level are for children and young people, along with their parents, families, carers and other stakeholders who are more likely to be identified as having well-being needs. And we have specialist input. This level is for those children and young people whose well-being needs cannot be fully met through universal or targeted provision. It would usually involve episodes of direct or indirect intervention, and this would always be alongside parents, carers and education staff when possible. The aims for this session are to increase the knowledge and understanding of the development of handwriting, to highlight the importance of foundation skills to support handwriting development, and to provide some strategies and ideas of how to support a child's handwriting development. Using a pencil efficiently is a complex task that requires many skills to come together. All of these stages are important as the foundations to holding a pencil. It's important to ensure that children have opportunities to develop these skills. Fine motor skills involve refined use of small muscles which control the hands, fingers and thumbs. It helps for tasks, for example feeding, buttoning, manipulating toys, cutting and writing. Pre-writing needs to develop from a solid fine motor base. Finger isolation and pincer grasp are developing around 10 to 12 months. To activate a toy or pick up finger foods, for example. Hand dominance is important in the development of pre-writing skills. By the age of 2 to 3 this is usually beginning to develop, and by 5 to 6 this is usually well developed. However, sometimes left-handed children can take a bit longer. Bilateral coordination, the use of both hands in two-handed tasks, for example using your pencil in your dominant hand and holding the paper with your assisting hand, or holding a book in your dominant hand and turning the pages with your assisting hand. Hand strength, this is important in order to manipulate items, for example a pencil or opening a packet or a bottle of juice. Hand manipulation skills, in order to pick up and put down a pencil and move it across paper. And crossing midline of the body. It's important that in order to go from left to right effectively, for example when moving your pencil from left to right across paper. The gross motor skills involved in handwriting mainly refer to the postural control that is required for writing. Efficient control of the larger muscle groups in the neck, shoulders and trunk is necessary to maintain stability in order for the fingers and hands to move to complete the handwriting task. As children develop, they focus upon gross motor development first, before fine motor development. Motor control and stability begins at the trunk, progressing to the elbow, wrist and finally the hand. Therefore, gross motor skills development is important to fine motor skills. If a child struggles with aspects of gross motor skills development, such as muscle tone, instability of joints, poor balance, difficulties with coordination and/or poor body awareness, this may have an impact on fine motor development and skills such as handwriting. This slide shows a typical preschool hand versus a typical 7-year-old hand and the difference in bone development. Until the age of 7, a child has laxity in the tendons. Beyond this, the carpal bones in the wrist have not settled and are not fully formed. Therefore, expecting a 4 or 5-year-old to have an efficient tripod grasp when holding a pencil is not always realistic. Yet this is what we expect for children going into primary school. They therefore need lots and lots of opportunities to develop gross motor and fine motor skills in the early years to support with writing readiness. Some children want to attempt writing, but some don't when they are in nursery or start school. However, usually all children are keen to mark make and doodle. Therefore, being creative around fine motor activities is a good way to encourage our little ones to develop their fine motor skills. This slide shows the natural progression of a pencil grasp. A palmar grasp to hold objects usually develops first when a child is exploring toys, reaching out and grasping to bring them to them. A digital pronate grasp typically develops around 2 to 3 years of age as the child develops their fine motor control. A static tripod grasp typically develops around 3.5 to 4 years old. The fingers do not yet move independently, and movements are often initiated from the wrist. Ideally, a child will develop a more dynamic tripod grasp typically around 5 to 7 years, and the fingers now move more independently from one another, which allows for more precise drawing and writing. Sometimes a child can get stuck at one of these stages or develop their own alternative grasp. This can be difficult to change, particularly the older a child is. It's important to have a look at how efficient the child's pencil grasp is. Does it enable good control? Do they get tired quickly? If it does look like it's an efficient grasp and it's not impacting their skills, then there's no need to change it. As highlighted previously, the development of gross motor and fine motor skills all support a child being able to develop pre-writing skills important for moving on to more formalised handwriting. Highlighted here are the stages of pre-writing development of typically developing children. Pre-writing skills are needed before any letter formation or other handwriting skills are mastered. If a child struggles with angled shapes, they will struggle with handwriting, particularly certain letter forms, for example V, W, X, etc. For more detailed information on pre-writing skills, please watch our Little Scribblers presentation. This can be found in the Professionals section on our website, www.otcyp.scot.nhs.uk. If you're concerned about handwriting, here are some initial questions to ask. As a child has plenty of opportunities for developing gross and fine motor skills in their early years, for example, playing outdoors, using Play-Doh and manipulating tools. Has a child received any direct teaching of handwriting, and if they have, how long has this been for? If a child hasn't had direct teaching of handwriting, they may just need some more opportunity for this. And is there a handwriting policy in your school? This can be helpful to help guide your practice. And are the concerns about handwriting shared by the teacher, the parents and the child themselves? What are the main areas of concern? Is it legibility, when all or most of the words written can't be read out of context? Is it neatness? Is the handwriting messy or poorly controlled? Is it comfort, when the child's experiencing pain, strain or discomfort when writing? Perhaps pressure, is the child pressing too hard or not enough? Or is pressure within one piece of writing variable? Is it speed? Does the child write very slowly, produce too little writing, or go too fast and become inaccurate? Or is it a motivation or enjoyment that's a tricky thing? Is the child reluctant to write, or do they give up too easily? When trying to determine the reasons why a child is struggling with their handwriting, it can be really helpful to use some type of assessment tool in your setting to determine what the difficulties are. If you don't already have a handwriting checklist, then you can find an example of one on the handwriting section of our website, www.otcyp.scot.nhs.uk. When looking at handwriting, it's important to think about the child's posture. Are they well supported with their feet touching the floor, ideally with knees, hips and feet at a 90-degree angle? When looking at their pencil grasp, make sure the writing tool is suited to the age and capability. For example, pencils not too thick or too thin. Are they able to hold the pencil in an efficient grasp? Look at how the child does their letter forms. Do they do reasonable spacing between words, and is the letter sizing appropriate? From gathering a profile on the difficulties, this can help you to make specific handwriting targets for the child to work on. Some examples could be, I will be able to write a sentence with good spacing between words, or I will be able to write a sentence and keep all of my words on the line, or I will be able to maintain an efficient grasp of the pencil for 3 lines of writing. The following slides will include some practical strategies to support children with their handwriting development. Getting ready for writing warm-ups. Incorporating regular big movement warm-ups prior to any writing task acts as triggers for the muscles. These can include chair push-ups, shoulder spirals, half push-ups, cross marching and shoulder shrugs. Do you have any TheraPutty or TheraBand that you can use for fine motor warm-ups? If not, can you use Play-Doh or clay or exercise bands? These types of activities can be helpful for a whole class and not just for an individual. Examples of getting ready for writing warm-ups are available on the handwriting section of our website, www.otcyp.scot.nhs.uk. There are many ideas to try and support children and young people who struggle to sit still. Some of these include preparation for handwriting activities such as TheraPutty or Play-Doh exercises, and getting ready for writing warm-ups as previously mentioned. Using a move and sit or wobble cushion, or other options such as a wobble stool. Tying some TheraBand or stretchy material to the legs of a chair to push against to get feedback from. Using fidget or listening tools can be helpful, particularly quiet fidget items without faces to avoid them being turned into a game. Regular movement breaks and changing of position before, during and after a sitting task can also be very helpful. Seating and posture. Good sitting posture is often overlooked but can have a big impact. Good positioning with feet on the floor means that a child will not have to be thinking about their balance and therefore will be able to focus on their learning and using their hands. Think about the seating in your classroom. Think about chair heights, table heights and the height of the children. All classroom seating tends to be standardised sizes, but not all children are standardised sizes, so this is something to bear in mind when you observe any of the children in your classroom carrying out a writing task. Do you have access to different heights of furniture, or try placing a book or box under a child's feet to help support them better? Encourage children to sit with their bottom right back in the chair ahead of writing tasks. Think about how unstable you would feel if you had your feet dangling or unsupported. If pencil grasp is an issue, for example, if a child is not resting the pencil in the web space being the resting area between your thumb and index finger, then the use of a handy writer, as highlighted within this slide, can help with this. Or try getting the child to hold onto something soft, such as cotton wool, in the palm of their hand. This will encourage them to tuck their fingers out of the way. If a child is holding the pencil too high up or too low down the barrel of the pencil, then you can try using a rubber band or a simple visual reminder on the pencil. That might be all that's needed. There are also simple textured grips that can be used for this, and these may also stop fingers from slipping down the pencil. Using a short pencil or crayon can also encourage a tripod grasp. If a child has an inefficient grasp, there are a variety of pencil grips available that will encourage the basic tripod grasp. These tend to have indents to show the child where to place their fingers. They also make the pencil chunkier and therefore easier to grasp. Fine motor weakness can cause inefficient grasp, which may then impact handwriting. Pencil grips such as the Ultra Pencil Grip, which is soft and moulded and has indents as to where to place the fingers, and that can also help to open up the web space. Or a cross guard or grotto grip. This is shaped to prevent the thumb from coming over the pencil. These can both be useful in supporting an efficient tripod grasp. If pressure is an issue, then a child might be holding the pencil too tightly and pressing firmly. Any of the softer pencil grips, such as the Ultra Grip, can help to relieve a bit of pressure on the fingers. Propelling pencils can also be useful to encourage children not to press so heavily, and practicing hard and soft lines to get a child to think about how it feels. If pressure is an issue, then a child may end up with a sore hand if pressing too firmly through the pencil. If the child is holding a pencil loosely and not pressing hard enough, then perhaps try using a light up pen to encourage the child to press harder to get the light on. Or using carbon paper to encourage the child to use enough pressure to mark the paper beneath. Using pencil with a darker lead, 2B, 5B, the higher the B number, the darker the lead. Using felt pens or whiteboard and marker, and practicing hard and soft lines to get the child to think about how it feels. If the pressure is too light, then it may be difficult to read a child's writing. The benefits of a sloping board. The 20-degree angle of a writing board is considered to be optimum position for writing and also assists with improved reading. The old-style school desks with a slope were the best position for completing writing tasks. There are a variety of angled boards available on the market, and a lever arch file can also do the same job. We would advise every classroom to have access to a sloping board to try with children who may have difficulties with positioning wrists or forearms on the table. An angled board promotes wrist stability as both the wrists and the forearms are resting on the surface of the board. By putting weight through the wrists, this helps to gain more control at the joint, and this can in turn improve pencil control. Effective wrist extension can improve voluntary finger movements as well, which are essential for handwriting. If poor spacing is an issue, you could try spacing cards to help create appropriate spacing between words. Providing visual cues, such as finger spacers, can be helpful, and these can be found on websites such as Twinkle, which often schools may have access to. Using alternative paper, such as graph paper, can be helpful to help with spacing, for example, leaving 2 boxes between words. And reducing visual stimuli, for example, using privacy boards, can sometimes reduce external visuals and help a child to focus purely on the paper. Some children and young people may find copying from the board particularly difficult. This may be due to visual difficulties. These can sometimes be overlooked, and if you feel this could be an issue, try encouraging parents to take them for an eye test. Alternative options for making this easier can include providing written instructions, which are placed beside the child, having number and letter cues on the desk, having a sloping board, using handouts that are the same as what is written on the board, and positioning within the classroom. Does the child need to be straight on to the board? There are several different options when it comes to which paper style to use. Lined paper improves the legibility of writing for the majority of children and young people. 4-lined paper can help children to work out the appropriate size and spacing of letters and words, and some children may find that raised line paper can be really helpful. It may be worth trying several different paper options with the child or young person to see what works best for them specifically. Being left-handed can add an extra degree of challenge for children in what is predominantly a right-handed world. It's important that if you have left-handed children in your class, that they have access to strategies and resources to help them. Some of these strategies can include tilting paper to the right of a maximum of about 45 degrees, holding pencil about 2 centimeters away from the tip, considering the natural slant of writing, trying different pencils and pens, using a sloping board, and seating a child on the left side of a double desk or next to another left-handed pupil. The website anythingleft-handed.co.uk is a useful website for resources. There are various different handwriting programs that are linked to supporting handwriting development. The Theodorescu Perception Motor Program is suitable for any child aged between 4 and 11 years. It looks at strengthening and developing the muscles of the hand to aid control required to form the necessary shapes for letters. It also addresses a child's perceptual skills, which can help to improve the child's organisation of the page and the orientation of the letter on it. It's made up of 8 booklets which target different areas such as hand-eye coordination, form recognition, motor control, spatial judgment, orientation, directionality, fluency, and spatial organisation. Ideally, each section should be followed in order, as each section relies on the skills acquired through previous exercises. The Speed Up programme is a short programme designed for use with children between the ages of 8 and 13, whose writing could be characterised as laboured, slow, illegible, lacking fluency, or an uncomfortable mixture of print and cursive lettering. The approach is completely different from the rehearsal and practice of letter forms and patterns used in traditional methods. Instead, the training focuses on movements to develop kinetic awareness and sensitivity in order to prove the handwriting, fluency, and speed. Kinesthesia is the awareness of the position of the movement of limbs and joints without the aid of visual feedback. The programme does not teach correct letter formation, although motor responses and orientation required for correct letter formation are fostered by the motor tasks. Handwriting Without Tears is a developmentally based programme which addresses different learning styles including visual, tactile, auditory and kinetic. Speak to your pupil sport teacher to see if any of these resources are available within your school. If not, they can be purchased for a variety of retailers online. There are a variety of alternatives to handwriting. In today's society, keyboarding is an important skill for all children to learn, but it can be particularly important for children with physical disabilities or motor coordination difficulties. With support and appropriate instruction, even young children with coordination difficulties can learn to be very proficient typists. The computer can open up a world of possibilities for learning and for success at school. Ultimately, the goal of typing is that children will be able to reduce the amount of mental energy they have to expend on producing legible printing or writing, and increase their ability to focus on the content of what they are writing. Evidence from the research literature and expert opinions are varied on this question, but it's likely that ages P3 and P4 children onwards can learn to touch type. As a general rule, consider the introduction of technology as soon as other methods or recording or programs for remediation of handwriting have not been successful for a full school year, and or the student is displaying emotional behaviours towards handwriting. Developing keyboarding skills should not stop the child from handwriting practice, and both methods should be combined. We have a leaflet on alternatives to handwriting in the handwriting section of our website, www.otcyp.scot.nhs.uk. Call Scotland has useful resources, including a Supporting Writing Difficulties a Practical Guide on their website, www.callscotland.org.uk. When might you request assistance from occupational therapy if a child has handwriting difficulties? Handwriting is both a cognitive and motor ability. There are often different profiles for children with handwriting difficulties. Profile A. Motor performance problems are the cause of handwriting difficulties. Occupational therapy are likely to be able to support with advice or input regarding this. Profile B. Cognitive and behavioural problems are causing handwriting difficulties. The child would likely benefit from learning support. Profile C. Combination of motor, cognitive and or behavioural problems with handwriting difficulties. And Profile D. Handwriting problems, motor problems, and there's an underlying pathology. Profiles C and D are more complex difficulties, and therefore the priority for the child needs to be determined. For example, if behaviour is the priority, then this would not be for occupational therapy. If the cognitive issues are the priority, then this would be for learning support. And if the motor difficulty is the priority, then this would be appropriate for occupational therapy. Thank you for listening to our handwriting presentation. You can find us on our website, www.otcyp.scot.nhs.uk, where you will find more information on our service, activity ideas, our request for assistance forms, and links to further trainings. You can also follow us on Facebook or X, and you can contact us via our generic email address tay.childhealthot@nhs.scot, or via the phone numbers for our Angus, Perth and Dundee teams, which are listed on this slide.